everybody, Mrs. Bianchi. We're looking at question number 2. A prism is filled with 58 cubes with a side length of a half a unit. So let's make sure we understand what that means. That means that the line right there that I'm tracing here is a half a unit, which means that you would need to make up a full unit, you would need 2 of those, right, to make up the full unit. So if we have 58 of these smaller cubes and we really want to know how many of these full unit cubes do we have a couple of approaches. So, if we have 58 of these, how many of these do we have? Now, did you know that if we cube a half, so that means, because that's what volume is, right? It's cubic. Cubing a half is the same thing as doing a half times a half times a half. So if we just simplify what I have here, 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, just 2 times 2 equals 4, and 4 times 2 equals 8. So that's equal to 1/8. Now, if we want to know how many cubic units that is, we'd have to multiply that with 58 to get the answer. Because remember, we have 58 of these, and we're trying to figure out how many of these do we have. By the way, you can see that we would need fewer of these to equal 58 of these because they're bigger. So let's finish the math on that. We'll take out our calculator because we might assume that something goes into 58 other than 8. So what about 58 divided by 4? Does that go in? Nope. So then we would do 58 divided by 2, and we would get 29. So if we divide this by 2, we get 4. And if we divide this by 2, as shown on the calculator, we get the 29. All right. So now we have to do 29 times 1, which would be 29, and 1 times 4, which would be 4. And now we have to just do 29 divided by 4 to get how many of these we have. So 29 divided by 4, it's going to go in 7 times, get the 28 with the 1 left over. So we need 7 1/4 of these to equal 58 of these, because this is a full cubic unit. When they say cubic unit, they mean like full units. This is a half unit cube. Now, there are such thing as a third unit cube and a fourth unit cube and so on. There's another video that I have that'll help you understand that. Now, there's another way we could have gotten this answer, and I want to show you that as well. And it's the idea of using proportions. So when we think about that, we can think this is a 1:8 ratio. So for every 1 full cube, you need 8 of the half cubes. And we have 58 they are half cubes. We have 58 of the half cubes, right? So if in the proportion, we would put that right here. And we're trying to solve for how many full cubes we need. And if we solve this, we would do 1 times 58 is 58. The other cross product would be 8 times f, which is 8f. We would be dividing by 8 because that's the coefficient. That's the opposite of multiplying. This would cancel out. And we'd still be looking at doing 58 divided by 8, which is the same thing as 29 divided by 4. So if we do it that way, 58 divided by 8, it's still going to go in the 7 times. We're going to get the 56 with the 2 left over, and 2 would be the numerator, 8 would be the denominator, and that would still simplify as being 7 1/4, which is the same thing we got doing it this way. All right, so let's explore our 2 approaches. Approach number 1 is you take how many of the mini cubes, we'll call it, you multiply it with a half times a half times a half if it's half unit cubes. Know that a half times a half times a half is equal to 1/8. So if it's easier for you to just say take the 58, multiply it by 1/8, that's fine too. And if you're using proportions, then you're thinking about full and half cubes. For every 1 full cube, you need 8 of those half cubes, and fill in your numbers in the proportion and solve it that way.